Hello, Rob here, and welcome to R&B Reviews. The movie that I'm about to review I had wanted to see since it first came out in 2019. There was a lot of anticipation for this movie because it was director Martin Scorsese's first movie for Netflix after having his movies released in theaters his whole career. The movie, of course, is The Irishman. The movie is about Frank the Irishman Sheeran, who looks back on his life as a former World War II veteran who learned to kill while serving in Italy. His career starts as a union trucker. Eventually he serves as a hitman for the mafia in Philadelphia, headed by Russell Buffalino, and his claims that he played a role in the disappearance of his longtime friend Jimmy Hoffa, who was the former president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, who mysteriously vanished in 1975. Now, many people have called this the greatest hits of Martin Scorsese's movies because this movie is a mobster picture told in flashback from the lead character's perspective. The movie also features many of his regular actors such as Robert DeNiro as Frank Sheeran and Joe Pesci as Russell Buffalino. And there's also top quality cast including Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa and Harvey Keitel. And it also, of course, features songs from different time periods in the soundtrack, depending on which scene it takes place in, which time period. It's based off of a book called I Heard You Paint Houses by Charles Brandt. It's based off of interviews that he did with Sheeran. And the movie, it runs at about 209 minutes, so I imagine this is probably Scorsese's longest movie, or at least one of them. And I gotta say, I admire this movie, but I'm not sure if this is one of my favorite films from him. But I do think that this was an interesting character study. I liked how Frank compares working for the mob to working for the army, and I like the framework of Frank's character from starting out working for a trucking company to meeting Pesci, who Frank eventually does work for, as well as various elements in Frank's life right up till the very last shot of the film. Like his other movies, Scorsese has, uses great technical aspects. Even from the opening shot where the camera is kind of gliding into this retirement home where we first meet Frank. And I also like Scorsese's use of transitions from when we jump from one period of time to another. And the lighting throughout this movie made me feel like I was in the actual locations. For example, the somewhat darkish restaurant that Russell and Frank are known to meet at, as well as various outdoor locations. The actors were all great in their roles. With De Niro, he gives a very moving performance as someone who often has to choose sides, oftentimes gets stuck doing work that can be very hard for him to do, as well as trying to protect his family. His performance is more restrained, almost where I felt like his character was just, thought the dialogue like right out of his head, like right from, saying it. And Joe Pesci is also great as the mafia head, who is a little bit more quieter and more scheming than some of the more louder Scorsese roles that he did in the past. And Al Pacino gives a very emotional performance as the larger-than-life Hoffa, who can be showy and intense in some moments, but a little bit more quieter and restrained in others. Some actors I didn't recognize at first, like Harvey Keitel, who plays one of Russell's associates, I thought was pretty good here. The movie did take me a little bit to get into. Scorsese's other longer films like Goodfellas, Casino, and Wolf of Wall Street, I never felt like it dragged. I got so caught up in the story and the characters, I kind of lost track of time, and sometimes I never wanted the movie to end. But with this movie, there were times I felt like I did feel that way at certain points, but there were other times I looked to see how far into the movie we were. And I remember I felt like the first hour went by kind of slow. I mean, I get we have to establish, the characters and who everything is. But at one point I thought the first hour was up and I looked and we were only half an hour in. I think when Pacino entered the movie, for me, is when it really started to pick up. The characters and the story became more interesting and colorful. And in addition to the colorful verbal moments, the movie also allows us, the audience, to think about what these characters must be thinking in their heads when they're sitting there in silence or just staring at another character as they talk or do actions. And it can feel tense at moments, whether it's Frank being asked to do something he's reluctant to do but knows that he has to do it, or one particular scene where he has to explain his actions to the heads of the crime family. I had heard complaints of the CGI that made De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino look younger in some scenes, but honestly, I thought they looked well, at least to me. I did also read that some people didn't like the last 20 minutes, and I gotta disagree. I thought what happened in those 20 minutes was just as integral to Frank's life story as the other scenes in the film. I think I understand why some people wanted the movie to end a certain way. I get it, but I did feel like it did add to Frank's framework as well. Overall, I did enjoy The Irishman. I liked the acting. The actors really brought these characters out. The technical aspects were great, as you would expect from a Scorsese film. It's definitely more of a quieter mob film than Casino and Goodfellas. I do think the movie did have some pacing issues here and there, especially early on, but I think this is a must-see movie. Alright, well that's my review of The Irishman. If you have seen the movie, what did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did you think it was okay? What were some of the things you liked about it? What were some of the things you didn't like about it? Please post your comments in the comment box below, and please feel free to check out some other movie reviews of contemporary movies as well as older classic films. Thank you very much for watching.